Casting and trailers and fury, oh my. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Marvel Plus, the podcast devoted to all Disney Plus Marvel series. My name is Brett Scott, I am your host, and this is the show. Well, sort of. I say sort of because, well, we don't have any Disney Plus Marvel series yet. We were supposed to have Falcon and the Winter Soldier in late August, but due to the pandemic, everything has been pushed back. Not only these Marvel series on Disney Plus, but also the MCU films that were planned for this year. As of right now, we're supposed to be getting Falcon and Winter Soldier in October, so let's cross our fingers and hope that that happens. But in the meantime, I am chomping at the bit to talk about these upcoming series. Since we don't have any series yet to talk about, I figured I would talk about what we do have. And that is a lot of exciting stuff, actually. We have two trailers that have already been released for the upcoming series. We have some casting news for a series coming down the road a ways. And we have the announcement of a new series that we were not expecting. First off, let me tell you a little bit about this podcast. Marvel Plus is a companion podcast for the Disney Plus Marvel series, where I will break down and review each episode as it releases, and hopefully have some cool guests on to chat about it with me from time to time. If that sounds like something you're interested in, please follow or favorite the podcast, and if you would be so kind, share the episodes if you enjoy them. I don't have any sort of marketing or advertising budget, and the best thing you can do to help this podcast grow is to simply share the episodes on social media. If you want to follow me on social media, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at RealBrettScott. You can find me on Facebook, and you can find me on YouTube if you just search Brett Scott. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's get into some Marvel Plus news. Let's kind of go in sequential order here, and first talk about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier trailer, or what a lot of people are calling the Falcon and the Winter Soldier trailer. But it's actually just a trailer for upcoming Marvel series on Disney Plus in general. This was, quote, the big game spot, end quote, that played during the Super Bowl back in January, which I probably should have already been talking about on here, but like I said, originally the plan was to wait for the first episode of one of these series to be released, and then, then to release the first Marvel Plus episode. But I digress. In this faux trailer, we get an opening that just shows Captain America's shield embedded in a tree. And then into the frame comes Sam Wilson. He walks up to retrieve it. And then we get a couple of random scenes of Bucky and Sam Wilson. Just cutscenes, really, like showing them in action, mixed in with a couple really exciting scenes from WandaVision, making this a maybe 30-second trailer for all the Disney Plus Marvel series. So if you look up the Falcon and the Winter Soldier trailer on YouTube, this is what you get. You get the big game spot, which was literally about 8 seconds of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier footage. Now, before we go on talking about the legitimate full WandaVision trailer, I have a question. Where the hell is the legitimate full-length Falcon and the Winter Soldier trailer? Why don't we have this? Why was this not released before the WandaVision trailer? Like, I don't get it. WandaVision is being released after Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I don't know. I'm seriously confused. And as great as the WandaVision trailer is, I'm a bit disappointed. Falcon and the Winter Soldier is one of the series that I'm most looking forward to, because I think the Captain America trilogy is the best part of the MCU thus far. It's pretty flawless. Like, in my opinion, it's the best. the best part of the, 22, 23 movie franchise. I love the mix of, like, comic book superhero meets government and military espionage. Like, it's got everything. There's a ton of twists and turns, and just feel like it's probably the best set of stories of all the standalone films, at least. Like, maybe not in comparison when you compare it to, like, the Avengers films, but if you compare it to the other standalone films, they're flawless. Like, with Thor, the first one was alright, the second one was poop, and the third one was awesome. Now, with Captain America, I feel like all three were amazing, and I can watch them over and over again, and I do. So anyway, I was psyched when they announced that the first of these series that was going to be released was The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So, I set out to talk about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier trailer, but really I'm just talking about why there is no trailer. Where the hell is it? I'm genuinely confused by this. Alright, moving on to the next order of business. The WandaVision full-length trailer. That should not have been released yet, but I'm still happy that it was, because it is absolutely beautiful. This trailer looks like an old-school sitcom on acid. It's awesome. Now, if you don't know much about Wanda or the Scarlet Witch, she has the power to do all kinds of crazy stuff with her mind, like including create other realities inside people's minds. And if you know anything about the comic books, she can create literally a different universe for everyone to live in. There was a storyline in the comics in the early 2000s where she did just that. She uttered the phrase, "No more mutants." Which, by the way, little side note, the Scarlet Witch is much more of an X-Men character than an Avengers character, historically. So now that Disney owns 20th Century Fox and the X-Men franchise, things can get a little crazy. And we might start actually seeing some mutants mixed into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Personally, I can't wait. I've always been a bigger X-Men fan than Avengers fan. The X-Men are my jam, and have been my jam since the early 90s. Mid-90s. So, she utters the phrase, "No more mutants," and changes reality itself. There are no mutants left on Earth, and everyone who previously had mutant abilities are just normal Joes and Janes. And the world is drastically different because of it. So, now that you know how insane her abilities can get, you can understand why it looks like they're living in several different realities throughout this trailer. And even her character changes. It shows her in different crazy outfits. It shows her and Vision in different time periods. As I said before, it looks like they're stuck inside a classic TV sitcom. We even get to see her in the 80s, 70s, 80s classic comic book costume, which is ridiculous and awesome at the same time. I'm extremely excited about this series, even more than I was before the trailer. This trailer has shown me that things are about to get pretty weird in the MCU. And I love that along with this, we have an upcoming Doctor Strange movie called The Multiverse of Madness, which tells me we're going to be dealing with parallel realities and all different types of characters from different worlds. I love this type of stuff. I live for this type of stuff. Mixing comic books with fantasy and science fiction, I'm in heaven. So when I saw this trailer and saw how wacky it's going to get, I became very excited for WandaVision. Alright. So, those are my thoughts on the trailers that have been released. If you guys have anything to add, feel free to hit me up on Twitter or Instagram at RealBrettScott, or shoot me an email at marvelpluspodcast@gmail.com. And maybe I'll even work the comments that you leave into a future episode of the podcast. So, now, let's move on to casting. We have recently received word on who will be cast in upcoming Ms. Marvel and She-Hulk series. Now, these series aren't slated to come out for a while, so it wasn't in the first round of 4 to 6 series that they announced last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago now. Man, time flies. they were announced a few weeks later, right after, I think it was at the D23, or maybe it was at Comic-Con. I can't remember which one. But a few weeks after the announcement of the initial Marvel series, they announced these series as well. Hawkeye, or I think Hawkeye was one of the originals, but like Ms. Marvel, She-Hulk, the Shang-Chi movie. What else did they announce? They announced that there would be, I don't know, there's some other really cool series, and I'm definitely going to be talking about them in the future, so it's not super important that I list them here, but anyway, they're definitely going to be slated further out, so there's no even tentative release dates. I think we just have to assume that they'll come out a while after the series that are already slated to come out throughout the next year and a half. I'm thinking at least a year and a half to 2 years before we see some of these series that we're about to talk about right now. But I could be wrong. Maybe they'll be mixed in like random. I don't know. Who knows? But they haven't begun shooting any of these series, so I'm assuming it's going to be quite a while before we see any footage. But they did announce that Kamala Khan, a.k.a. Ms. Marvel, a teenage Pakistani-American superhero, will be played by Iman Vellani, a 16-year-old, relatively new actress. Like, there's not much information about her if you look her up. I looked her up on IMDb, which is a pretty good source if you want to know what people have been in and what they've done with their career. It's pretty empty. So it seems as though this is her first major role. And it does list her as a newcomer when they announced this. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how it turns out. I don't know much about the character, so I really have no expectations going in. And usually that's when I have the best time watching something. Like when I go in, no expectations, and just accept it for what it is. Watch it as it unfolds. All right, moving on. A few days later, after that casting announcement, there was a press release announcing that another role was filled. That actress Tatiana Maslany will portray cousin of Bruce Banner, Susan Walters, a.k.a. She-Hulk, in the She-Hulk series. Now, I personally don't know anything about this actress, but with a little bit of research, I found that she won an Emmy for Orphan Black, and she also starred in the HBO series Perry Mason with Michael Rice. So she obviously has some acting chops, and I look forward to seeing how this She-Hulk series turns out. Because once again, this is a character I don't know a whole lot about, other than she's related to the Hulk. I wasn't deep into Hulk comic books or storylines. I know his basic appearance in comic books and from TV series and movies and, the Hulk over the years. But that's about it. So, once again, it'll be cool to be introduced to a character brand new, a new story that I'm not familiar with. I can't wait. I can't wait for all of these series, dude. I'm so excited. Okay, so that is all the recent casting news. Like I said, if there's something I missed, don't hesitate to reach out. Reach out and let me know. Shoot me an email. Hit me on social media. Let me know. And now, to our final order of business. Just last week, Marvel announced that they would begin work on a standalone, wait for it, Nick Fury series. And yes, original MCU actor Samuel L. Jackson will reprise the role. Now, the internet lost their minds over this, but to be honest, it didn't blow my skirt up. I wasn't that surprised. I mean, it was definitely news that there was going to be an additional Disney Plus Marvel series, and there was going to be a Nick Fury series. But the fact that Samuel L. Jackson would reprise his role, that was in no way surprising to me. I don't know why it was to people, considering Marvel has made it very clear that this is a shared universe, that the Disney Plus series and the theatrical films will all coincide with one another, that they'll be completely intertwined. All of the other series roles are filled by the original actors who portrayed the characters from the film. So Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury was no surprise at all to me. Now, Am I excited about a Nick Fury standalone series? I don't know. Look, I love Samuel L. Jackson as much as the next guy, and the Nick Fury character is great. But I feel like we've gotten quite a bit of Nick Fury. He's in most of the MCU films, and he's clearly going to be in more going forward. If you watch the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, like, there's some sort of storyline going on there with Nick Fury. Does he need a standalone series? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure people will enjoy it. I will probably enjoy it very much. But is it something I would have asked for? Is it something I've been waiting to see? Not really. Like I said, I'm sure it's going to be great. I'm curious to know what the storyline will be. What kind of adventures is Nick Fury going to have on his own series? I mean, there was a Nick Fury Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. movie back in like the early 90s, I think, with David Hasselhoff. Go check that. I bet you can find that on YouTube somewhere. But and obviously it was a standalone comic series back in the day. But I'm definitely not on the edge of my seat waiting for this series. Like I said, I'm sure it'll be great. It's just not the most exciting thing we've got to look forward to. Ladies and gents, that's going to do it for this episode. Hopefully, the next time I speak to you will be to break down and review Episode 1 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Once again, my name is Brett Scott. My social media links will be in the description or episode notes. And if you have any questions or comments for the show, you can leave them at marvelpluspodcast@gmail.com. And please, please, please share the podcast if you enjoyed it, and let your friends know that there is a podcast devoted solely to the Disney Plus Marvel series. I absolutely cannot wait to talk to you again. Thank you for listening to Marvel Plus.